Welcome, welcome. We've got just a few announcements, but I did want to take just 1 minute to highlight the new association logo. Hope you love it. Yeah, it was, anybody that's been involved in logo development, it's always a lot of fun. But I also wanted to make sure everybody's aware of the new website, which you'll be seeing roll out in the next few weeks, months, in the near future. So when you see this site, you're at the right place. Don't think you accidentally navigated to the wrong place. There is a forum section, so you'll have to set up a little account if you want to post on the forums. But otherwise, the site will function and the content is very similar to the way it has been in the past. So nothing new, just wanted to be sure everybody got a chance to see it. We'll send an email out to the larger group as well. So hopefully you'll see that in the next few weeks. There is a section up there you'll see in profile in the upper right-hand corner. As we move forward, as we try to modernize, if you will, our association a little bit, that's where long-term where memberships will be managed as well, so you can make electronic payments, you can use whatever payment option you're most comfortable with. You can get reminders, or you can set it up once and it'll just renew every year if you want to. It's entirely up to you. But by creating a profile, you'll be able to post to the forum, and if anyone's used bsource.com, you're very familiar with that process. If you're not familiar with bsource.com, you should be, so you might check it out. That will be, going to be soliciting, if anybody is interested in monitoring those forums, I'll be seeking you out, because we will monitor those and make no apologies about things that we might delete. So just be warned. But again, that's where we'll manage the email distribution list and subscriptions and everything in that one place. So again, next up, I think we have a raffle. Okay.
Oh, I'm happy to draw, but
What are we winning? What are we drawing for?
well, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
They got more
It's a
stuff.
choice over here, so if you win, feel free to go back.
But we have other stuff too.
Yeah, we knew we got about stuff about fees, what was through thing, but then the spring out there, I didn't have a lot. And my friends, come spring,
Anybody
on
else
Sunday,
need?
they come over.
Never mind.
Doing
Does
it.
anybody know what this is?
What are you gonna do then? What are you gonna do with this?
Yes, you can look it up.
I think and I bought 2 eyes and got it.
What?
You put your frame in there and then uncap it. Excuse me? You didn't uncap it still?
I got too many, 5 eyes, too many. When they were gonna shoot my shoulder. I can't lift it.
Traps,
Tea towels?
tea towel, and book. That's really pretty cool. So, everybody have a ticket in here? Yes? Okay, okay. All right.
I've got one.
Well, you can pick.
But don't you dare,
Don't pick yourself. We're watching you.
He drawed his own ticket out.
095 at the end of it.
All right, we have a winner.
winner.
I think it's red.
We just can't give them away until after the presentation.
Oh,
Okay.
They can draw for it now.
After, or do you want to do it after?
Okay, well, have to go. Yeah. We can wait.
Some people might show up.
We do it now.
Is that the central? Yeah, I've been there.
All right.
Really got a nice store.
So we do them now or do them later?
We can do them all later.
Do them all later? Sure. All right, so.
We'll rapid fire a little later in the evening when we give away presenters' props. There's absolute value in that. Ed, you've got some announcements you want to make as well? Nominating committee,
No, not the nominating committee.
you got to do that too.
Okay, the nominating committee has nominees, and they're gonna be announced next month. So we've got all the positions ready to be filled, but anybody can run. So if you want to run for a position or want to be a nominee from the nominating committee, just let me or Jeff Grace, who isn't here tonight, or I think Nicholas is also on the committee, let one of us know if you want to be an officer or a director. I did have a couple other announcements. The first one, that phone is not going. The first one, I just got this yesterday from the EPA, and their cards that they want people to fill out and send to them. I don't know if it's postage paid. It's not. If you have a death of a colony that you think might be from pesticides, so they're wanting to know that. So we're going to just pass these around, just pass them down the row. Take one and pass it, and just start that one in the back. And if you have a colony that died from anything, let them know, and let them know what you think it died from, because I'll just give them more data to work with. Secondly, on October 9th at the library, Karen Maldonado and I harvested the honey at the library, extracted it down in the demonstration kitchen, and it was all videoed. And so on October 9th, we're going to be showing that video, and I'm going to be speaking over the video, because they didn't use voices and stuff. So it's just a silent movie that I'll talk about. And I moved real fast, and I walked by Charlie Chaplin. The third thing I just got yesterday or the day before, November 12th in Joplin, Missouri is a 4-state conference. It's just one day, but you need to register for it by October 12th. And they're having some pretty good speakers there. So you might want to think about that on your calendar. If anybody wants information for that, I can get it to you.
But can we put it on the website?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll put it on the website, and if anyone's interested, you can register through that link.
So I think that was just all I had to say. I thought I had 3 things, but Jay said I had 4 things.
Thanks, Ed. Carrie, I think you, community outreach.
The only thing I had to,
Speaking to the mic, darling.
Sorry.
it's okay. The only thing I had to put on everybody's radar is there's going to be a Pioneer Day in St. Paul on Saturday, September 10th. And so I'll be sending out, I'll probably put that on the website, and I'll send out if anybody's interested in volunteering. We're going to take the observation hive down there again. Not sure what all activities they have, but it sounded like a fun day. 9 to 3 or whenever you get tired.
Yeah, the outreach is always a good time. Meet fellow beekeepers in the area. I don't know, Roy, are you here? Roy? No? You're right, a Roy. Are you with the Arkansas Beekeepers Association?
You're with that.
Northwest Arkansas, yeah. Don't get us confused with those other guys. The Arkansas Beekeepers Association is having their annual conference up in Mountain View. So if you've not been to that before, I went last year. I can't make it this year, but it's a good program, heavy on the science and research and what's going on in the state and state apiary boards and things. So again, if you want additional information, again, I'm not going to back to our website because that's where all the links are and the information. Or to their website, the Arkansas Beekeepers Association. So without further ado, our tonight's program. Well, before the program, let me remind you of one thing. Quick show of hands. I'm going to ask 3 questions. You know, is your honey yield this year above average, average, or below average? And ask for a quick show of hands. So whose honey was below average? Jim, you're the only one. Two below average? How many average? Let's put my hand up. How many well above average? There you go. All right. I always like to what else is happening around here? What are, some of us, sometimes we get, we see our experiences, but we don't get to see everybody else in the community. So I know some people that live around Wilson Park and they had an above average year, so they're doing the herbs and stuff. So anyway, Ed?
One other thing, the picnic, is it gonna be on the website?
Yes, the picnic will be on the website. It is October.
It is on the website.
It is on.
It is on the website already. Kathy what's the date for the?
October the 8th.
October the 8th, okay. It's always over here at Ag Park, lots of fun. We'll do a smoker competition. I think we've got a few other fun activities planned for the day. Are we doing potluck this year?
I think so, we were gonna provide.
COVID has really killed all the fun out of potluck.
Yeah.
I think we were going to try to get back to a few potluck activities.
Yeah,
as well, so.
We'll provide meats or
Okay.
main dishes.
We'll do the mains and we'll let
Sides.
people bring some sides. Okay, good deal. Without further ado, I am going to, on our program, Connie? Corinne. From Central Beekeeping Supply. If you guys haven't been down to Central Beekeeping Supply, I highly encourage it. Corinne and her husband both very knowledgeable about bees. We've got a great shop down there. If you need equipment, they have it in stock for the most part. If you haven't been on the YouTube channel, they've got a pretty good YouTube channel. I think your husband was experimenting with some experimental hives. Last I'll have to admit, I haven't followed him that closely on YouTube lately, but I was very interested as far as our live experience. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to her. And, sorry.
They give excellent service.
They do give
Yes.
excellent service, and if you like mail ordering, they will absolutely ship. Create you an account, do it online. They got a great online store. But again, encourage people to stop in and stop by.
And they're not open on Monday.
They have good. They're not open on Mondays. They do have beekeeping equipment, and it's also a good supply of other, beekeeping related, whether it's beeswax or other things, soaps and stuff. So with that, I will turn it over.
Here. All right. Can I pull this up?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Sorry.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the invitation to come up to Northwest Arkansas. We see lots of familiar faces, so we appreciate the opportunity to come. So I am going to talk to you about what to do with your beeswax. And so, has everyone harvested honey before? Has anyone not harvested honey? Okay. Have you seen the process where you scrape off the combs and you've got the cappings left over? Okay. So after you scrape your comb and uncap the frames, you've got the cappings left. Definitely don't throw those out. Also save the honey from those. We have an uncapping tank, and so as we uncap, the cappings fall into the tank, and then it filters out. We usually get about 5 gallons of honey just that strains out of our cappings. So don't discount that and think it's not worth filtering that out. It definitely is. And then we have the cappings left. What we do is we take them and put them in a Ziploc bag and throw them in the freezer. Most of what we learn by what happens when you don't do it that way. So one year we decided we threw it in a trash bag, and John brought it down and put it in my pantry. And about 2 weeks later, I walked in my pantry and there's wax moth larvae crawling out in the floor. So not a good day. No, not a good day for John. So throw them in the freezer. That kills any wax moth larvae, small hive beetle larvae, ants, anything else. We have left it in there for well over a year to 2 years. You take it out and it looks exactly the same. So it's not like it gets brittle or freezer burnt. Perfectly fine. So this is what it looks like. We take this out and we put it in one of these bags, which is, we call it a wax processing bag, but it's a micron filter, which looks like this. And I take some baker's twine and just tie it up, so that way I can reuse this bag. So what you do, we get an old crock pot that you are never gonna use again. Do not use your wife's favorite crock pot. You can tell mine is old. I take this, fill it up, kind of smash it in, put it in here, and then fill it up with water, turn it on high. Don't leave it like you would if you're cooking something, you go to work. Beeswax is flammable. And it'll burn and it'll scorch it too. So go ahead and turn that on. And everybody always says, well, how am I gonna know when it's done? You're gonna know. You'll pick it up and you'll kind of give it a little shake. The beeswax will come out and there'll be nothing but the yucky left over. So this is a bag that I have used, and you can tell all of the stuff you don't want stays in the bag, and then all of the wax comes out. Is everybody following this process? Okay, all right. So once it's done, you take it, you give it a good shake, which is what I did here, and I lay it on a piece of aluminum foil, and I turn the crock pot off. Several hours later, you come back, the water is on the bottom, and you've got a nice shape, crock pot shape block of wax.
How much water did you add?
So enough where when this melts, it's going to be completely underneath the water. He asked how much water. So, I mean, you can just really do it right, just cover it. One thing we have learned is don't stuff as much as you can in this bag till it's completely full. Because what happens when it gets to this stage and you have to go to the next stage and break it up and put it in here, it's so thick that you can't break it. So it's worth doing it twice. So after it cools, we've got this shape, but as you can see, there's still some dirt and yucky left on there. So at this point, when it's dry, you're gonna take it and just break it like this and put it in your pot. You have a dirty pot and a clean pot. And this is my dirty pot. And can everybody see why it's the dirty pot? Invest in 2 pots. It's well worth it. So we're going to take this, we're going to put it in the dirty pot and put it in a double boiler. Whatever pot you use for your double boiler, make sure it is only used for beeswax. It will never be good again. It's going to get wax residue on it. Even if it doesn't boil over, it's going to turn waxy and gross. So whatever you're going to use for beeswax, it's never going to be used for anything else. I'm going to try not to touch anything else with this hand too. It's pretty sticky. So once you get to this point, you melt it down. We're going to take the next wax processing bag that we use for this, and we're going to take our clean pot, fold it over twice, and once this is melted, I think Dawn was saying yours wasn't coming out clean enough. This is your second pour, and you pour it through here. Y'all can see what came out of the last one. Once it pours through here, it is this clean. So that's your second pour. One thing I want to tell you is after you use this once, you can use it one other time. Beyond 2 uses, it's so dirty, it just, the wax just gets too dirty. So I do try to use these twice.
KDS Holdings or Nova Host.
I think he used to work for the railroad.
So the great thing is, that is all there is to it. That's it. Your wax is as clean as this or this. Does anybody have any questions about that part of it?
How are you attaching that second filter?
Honestly, I just put it like that. I have used rubber bands, but I'm pouring it slow enough that it's not taking it and pushing it down. So I just lay it right across, and I do double it, so it's actually going through 4 filters here. And then I use this for my next bag.
So how did you get it out of that second
So,
container?
I put it back in the double boiler, when I'm ready to pour it. So you can keep it in here depending on what you're gonna do, but we will pour it in here. This is a 1 pound wax mold. These are the 1 ounce. The advantages of doing this is I make soap and some lotion bars, lip balms, and things like this. It is a lot easier to have it in a little one ounce block than it is a big old hunk of 1 pound, and you're trying to trim off an ounce and trying to figure out how much and cutting it and all of that. So we go ahead and put most of ours in 1 ounce or the 1 pound unless we're making candles.
Are those silicone?
They are silicone, and let me tell you, it's worth it. I have used the plastic, and don't waste your money on buying the plastic because you're going to end up with these anyway. They're expensive, but well worth it. We've had these 10 years. Yeah, and so they're well worth it. So let me tell you, if you are wanting to use your beeswax to coat your foundation, we don't do this, but a great way to do that, go to Dollar General, Walmart, wherever you go, and get your aluminum pans, like the turkey pans. Put your beeswax in it, stick it in the oven at like 175, 200. Watch it, beeswax flammable. Once it melts, you pull it out. That foundation has tiny holes on top. You can take some fishing line, thread it through there, dip it like this, you're done. Some people paint it on or roll it on. The only disadvantage of that is once you put your brush or your roller into the wax and you pick it back up, it hardens. But if you can take that foundation and just dip it, as soon as you pull it up, it's dry. So that's a good way to do that. So we will move on to what I think is the fun stuff. And two, when you look at this, you think, oh gosh, that's really cool. It is so easy. It is as easy as this. So sometimes I even feel silly about telling you because it is so easy. But you've got your beeswax in this form now. And we're just going to do a couple of different things. These are something that I started last year that I think are really cool. They're little Christmas ornaments. And I don't know if y'all can see, but it says Merry Christmas and has a truck with a tree in the back of it. These are some little molds that I found on Etsy. All you do is take it. I made this Saturday right before we closed up. Melt enough wax, pour it in there. This you do need to spray with silicone candle mold release. That's the others I don't. This one you do. But you pour it, fill it with beeswax. I have found that it is a little bit easier to get it out of these if you remove it before it has completely cooled off. Not when it's liquid, but it'll still be warm, just because it's soft enough to come out with like this little hole where you can put your Christmas tree hanger in. So if you'll let it just barely harden and then take it out. So that's something new we did last year that I thought was super cute. These are actually candle molds that, let me show you about these molds. These are the silicone molds too. And if you've ever used any of these, when you get them, they have a crack. And the first one we ever thought, we were like, oh man, this one's broken. But it is like that, so that way when the candle's in there, you can get it out. And it also has this tiny, 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 tiny little hole right here in the bottom, which is a little bit of a pain to get your wick in there. But on these for the Christmas ornaments, you want it to be a hoop. So you are going to take, and you actually have to get it in there twice. So you'll make your hoop sticking out like this. And then you turn it upside down and pour your candles. We sell a lot of these. They are super cute and super easy. All you are doing when you are making these are melting your wax and pouring it. And that's as easy as it is. And then I leave these for 24 hours just to make sure, because when you're pulling these out, if you pull too hard or you're really trying to get it out there, you'll put your fingers in there and then they've got like a fingerprint or a fingernail, you'll chip it or something like that. 24 hours, pull it out, and there you go. On the candles, if you want to make candles, beeswax candles, when they burn, they create something called negative ionization, which actually purifies the air. I don't add any scent to ours. I have one time, I added mixed coconut oil and orange essential oil because that was what I had on hand. And every time I lit it, our daughter would immediately talk about her eyes burning. So we just skip that. We don't do that anymore. But there are people who will mix soy with it just so their beeswax will go a little bit further, or the coconut oil. There's lots of recipes if you Google it. But I just use plain beeswax. And a couple of things to know about that. You get your beeswax melted. Once it's melted, don't let it continue to get hotter and hotter and hotter. If you allow it to get too hot, you pour it, it'll cause a cavity in there, and then when you burn it, it can cause it to kind of explode on you. So don't do that. As soon as it gets melted, go ahead and pour it then. A couple things to know about that is the wick that you need to use is 100% cotton, square braided wick. So if you are going to burn beeswax, it's got a higher melting temperature than if you're going to do soy or another candle. So cotton, square braided wick, and it also depends on the size. When you're ordering it, it usually says like a 2 to 3 inch, 4 to 6, or like a taper candle takes a much smaller wick than the 2 to 3, which is a thicker wick. What happens if you are burning your candle and it burns for just a little bit and then goes out, your wick is too small. If it's burning it really quick, down very quickly, then your wick is too large. But usually when you're ordering, it tells you what size. So just beware of that. This is one mold that I really like. They make a ton of different molds, anything that you like. We've got turkey shape, they have seashell shape, turtles, anything that you are interested in, there is a mold for. This is one that I really like. It's the Wilderness. It has a bear on this side and a deer on this side. I would not recommend this one unless you have a lot of beeswax, and here is why. This one is just a pillar and it's embossed with comb. If you only have just a little bit of beeswax and you pour this, then you end up with a half a deer candle. If you have a little bit of beeswax and you pour this, you still have what looks like a full-size candle. So this one you can change the height by how much beeswax you have. I'm going to show you how to pull this out, so I'm going to set this down. So you see there where it is, and you just kind of pull back and forth, like so, and then there it is. I don't have any scissors, but at this point, you would just cut the wick. It's self-threading, so you don't have to thread for the next one. One other thing that you see that I took off here, this is a must-have. So this is a center wick. So when you start pouring that candle, your wick is going to move around. You can roll it up with a pencil or a bobby pin to keep it in place. I like to use these because it's got that center hole, so you just thread it through. Give it a little tug to fit in that hole, and then your wick, when you burn it, it's not hanging over on the edge. So it's right in the center, like that. So that's a handy little tool to have. I have made candles in glass jars and things like that. To me, silicone is the only way to go. When you pour beeswax and as it starts to cool, it gets smaller. And if you are pouring it into like a glass jar, that gets colder first. And so then as the candle starts getting smaller, the outside's already stuck to the edge of the glass, and so it's really bad to crack on you. So I have completely given up on glass jar candle containers, and I just use the silicone, just because it's fail-proof. But if you're looking for a challenge. Are there any questions about candles? here is one other thing. So these have become super popular. This is a square candle, but just the taper candles are super popular. I know Eli said that he was actually dipping. The great thing is you don't have to have that much beeswax. When I first started doing this, I thought, gosh, how am I ever going to get a container big enough to dip wax in and that much wax? They make a mold for this too. So you just thread the mold and then you pour it. Love these. People really like them. Super cute. There. We will move on to the next beeswax craft. I had never made the beeswax lotion bars until last week. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it. I had a recipe. If y'all have ever heard of Soap Queen, Blob, or Brambleberry, have a lot of different little recipes out there that you can get. I printed this one off. These turned out, it took all of 15 minutes. I'm going to give these two away. Have y'all heard of the lotion bars? You take them and you just rub them on your hands. The temperature from your hand warms it up, and so it's like lotion. Literally, you mix together 2.5 ounces of beeswax, which is, again, why it's so handy to have it in this form. So 1.5 of these, olive oil, shea butter. It asked for pure honey fragrance oil. We skipped the fragrance oil and then just poured it into these molds. And they turned out so cute. Smell like beeswax. So we'll give these away as well as this. These look great if you're looking for products to sell or give away, like at Christmas gifts. To me, this is not like, I mean, these are really high quality items that you can give away at Christmas, especially if you did this in a little 2-ounce honey jar or something like that. They make the little tins that you can get at Hobby Lobby or somewhere like that these go in, and they look really nice. Lip balm is another thing you can make. We've made lip balm. Cora, our youngest daughter, makes a lot of lip balm. So it's real easy too. You're just mixing the stuff together and pouring it into lip balm. I didn't bring any of that, but real easy for that. The other thing that I really like to make is cold processed soap with the lye. That is a whole nother presentation, but you can add beeswax to it. Beeswax is considered an oil. It makes a harder bar and also antiseptic or antimicrobial. Here is one that we made this week that is lemongrass lavender. Mint lavender. That has beeswax in there. So we will give this away too for somebody. But beeswax, it takes 1 ounce to make 5 pounds, which is about 15 to 20 bars. So it doesn't take a lot of beeswax to make your own soap. And then that is another great gift to give away and say, hey, here's soap. When people start using lye soap, they will not buy soap from Walmart anymore. It's just, there's a difference. John sometimes says, hey, do you remember that lady who used to come here and make soap when we run out? He's like, can she come back? So if your husband likes the soap, then you know it's pretty good. Here, let me wanted to show y'all this too. I know Felicia just ordered these little 4-ounce mousse jars. If y'all seen the mousse jars with the cork, they make a mold for a candle to go with it. They look fantastic side by side in like a little box or a little crate at Christmas to give away or to sell or however you want to do it. So that's another great thing to do. I am not seeing anything else up here. Does anybody have any questions?
You have to put the rubber band on those molds before you pour them?
You do, yes.
Or
Yeah.
they'll-
And when they'll kind of, really when you first get them, they stay together pretty good, but yes, and they come with the rubber bands on there. Yeah.
I'm a new beekeeper.
Okay.
Roughly how much wax would come from one frame? I'm like trying to estimate like
From
when it
one
would be.
frame.
Or,
Do you know?
or some other measurement to
Okay.
get an idea of like when would I have enough wax to like
So
go for this?
we ended up with probably 4 bags of this size from how many supers? A weeks ago. 15 supers, and ended up with like 4 bags this size. And then this melts down, so I had more than this to get this. So more than you think, just because there's a lot of trash in there. Another thing too, a lot of people will throw out, when you go out to your hive and as you're closing it back up and you're scraping off the burr combs and things like that, we have a Ziploc bag in our freezer, put it in there and save it. All that adds up.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I did 18 frames at the library, and we got 2 blocks of wax about this size.
Okay.
15 frames.
18 frames.
And if you do crush and strain, I know most people don't extract, but if you do crush and strain, then
You get a lot more.
you get a whole lot more
Yeah.
wax out of the process.
Yes, sir.
Where did that recipe for that lotion come from?
Soap Queen or Brambleberry. Brambleberry is the website, but their blog is Soap Queen. And they have a ton of different free recipes out there. Lip balm, soaps, lotion bars. Yes.
You said be careful not to overheat the wax. About what temperature is it being heated at?
I've got a double boiler, so I turn my pot on with water in it and let it boil. And as soon as I see that my block is liquid is when I pour it. So I've never actually put a thermometer in there to see at what temperature it is.
It melts at 144.
The temperature of the wax would be 144?
Well, that's the temperature it melts at.
Oh, okay. I watch it. As soon as it turns liquid, I pour it. Yes.
Is the honey lye soap, is that safe for kids?
Safe for kids? Yes. Yeah, so once the oils neutralize the lye, and once it goes through that process, it is completely safe and will not burn you at all, as long as you did it correctly. If you added enough oil to neutralize, and you will know immediately if you did not. But a lot of people say that because when the soap you buy at the store doesn't have the glycerin in it, they remove it and use it for other products. This still has the glycerin, and so people who battle like eczema and dry skin and things like that can use cold processed soap and say that it actually helps them with that.
If you're as cheap as I am, you can get those truck pots at yard sale for $1.
Yes, yep. Or you could buy your wife a new one.
Yeah, and use her own.
And use her old one.
There you go.
Either way. Oh, also, you can use, you do not have to use this. Somebody was saying that he used pantyhose. I read one article they used a sock. To me, a sock would be pretty thick. But anything that's going to be thin like that you can tie up and put in there will work as long as it holds in the yuck and the liquid can come through.
What do those run, the micro bags that you use?
I think for 3 of them, we sell them for like $3. Yeah, so which would be 6 uses.
I've used old t-shirts.
Oh, t-shirts? Okay.
And there's the fire starters after.
I have tried to find a use for this because I just really felt like maybe fire starters or something like that, the stuff that's inside of here, and all I have found that is it molds. If somebody finds a use for that, let me know. Can I answer any other questions?
Are those pots aluminum?
Yes, I think it's aluminum.
The
Yeah.
one this color the wax?
Nope, and I have had the same ones. These are the only 2 I've ever had, but yep. So they hold up pretty well. Yes, ma'am.
So on the remnant that you have here, how did you extract the honey from the little bits?
So we have an uncapping tank, so when we uncap the frames, the cappings fall on a grate, and then the honey drains out from it, and it's in a hot room, and then we filter it as it goes into the bucket. But I'll tell you, the one, I can always tell which one he scrapes out last because there will be quite a bit of honey left in there when it gets down to the bottom. So it's not all of it, but you could easily take one of these filters, stuff it down in there and twist it and push it down, and that would get, I would say, 99% of it.
And if not, your honey in the drop pot is
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, yes. If you do have leftover honey in there, it mixes with the water and it comes out of this. So. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your store, what you have, what you do, what you sell.
So we started our business in 2011. The redhead and the blue was a baby when we started, and so a lot of our customers remember coming in, and she was in a little crib when they would come in. So since then, we have moved locations in Russellville. We're right off of Highway 64. We've got about an 8,000 square foot building there. We try to keep everything that you would need or want there within reason. So we have everything from all of your woodenware. We have home decor, gifts, things for candles, honey bottling, lotions, books, protective wear tools, bee suits, the swarm, the things you need for swarms, bee feed. If you're a basket weaver, we've got basket supplies, but that's a whole other presentation.
Ice chest.
But I'm sorry.
The ice chest.
Oh, we got ice chests, that's right. We got ice chest extractors, extracting equipment. So anything that we see that we think somebody might want, we try to get it and keep it in the store. So we are open year round, Tuesday through Saturday, and usually John and I are there.
What's the address in Russellville?
It's 109 Warehouse Row, ROW. We're just about 2 or 3 minutes off of the interstate on exit 84.
Good website, too.
Thank you. It is a work in progress. I'm sorry?
What is the name?
Central Beekeepers Supply.
Do you do classes from this?
When we have time. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just wanted to share. She's got some business cards on the table over here.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
How much do the malls usually run?
Okay, oh, John, do you know?
I think that was like 28,
28, but I know like this one is up in the 40s, but it's a really thick one. So depending on how much silicone is in it, but we're thinking these 28 to low 30s. And then the bigger molds, like this one, I want to say this one's like 43, but it's a great big mold. These are less expensive. The mold that does these cute little guys actually does 3 of these at a time. These molds that we have soap supplies too, and so we have a lot of different soap molds. This is actually a soap mold, but works great for this. These are much cheaper. They're like 16. So the less weight there is, the cheaper it is.
Is there a difference in silicone molds? I mean, like in an air fryer, you know, you have silicone molds. Is that the same thing, or is it different, or what?
I would imagine it's the same. It just depends on how thick it is. So definitely for like soaps and things like this, and even this, you could use those like the baking molds. I know that there was one lady who she figured out how much 1 ounce mold, and she uses like a little disc in it. I think it was for muffins or something, and that's what she used. And you could definitely do that. If you're going to do candles, you just have to have it thick enough where when it cools, it's cooling at like a uniform temperature. But that's the only difference. And you can find a lot of cute baking molds that you could turn into candles and wax and things like that. Can I answer any other questions?
So, if you're using a mold
think you could as long as you cleaned it. I don't think it would harm it in any way, as long as you just cleaned it. Otherwise, the only thing I think it would do, if you like made a batch of soap and then poured a candle in there, you might have some like residue from the soap. But you could easily wash that out and use it. Yeah. I know if you're ever gonna use, like make soap, don't use like your muffin man for that, and then use your muffin man again for making muffins. But other than that, I think you could. Is that it? All right, I hope it was interesting. So we do want to go ahead and give some stuff away. We're going to give away 2 pots and a pack of the wax processing and this mold. So I'm just going to kind of put this stuff out, and then I'll step out of the way. 2, yeah. 2 of those.
Avoid the folded ones.
Yeah.